Alright, one more video on this guy, Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk. This is having to do with his solidarity with Bernie Sanders on this push to tax billionaires, or to get rid of them altogether, as Bernie Sanders has said we should do. Now, the video starts with a pretty mediocre clip of billionaire and Home Depot co-founder Kenneth Langone, and frankly, it was a slightly unimpressive clip. Langone pretty much just criticizes Bernie Sanders for having never created a job, so who is he to talk? I guess it's a fair point, but he could have pushed it further in my opinion. But although I'm not terribly interested in that clip, it was pretty mundane, I am however interested in Kulinski's reaction to it, especially when he tries to defend the ideals of Bernie Sanders and that the New Deal and Bernie Sanders have created a plethora of jobs through legislation. Okay, Kulinski couldn't be more wrong about this. Government cannot create jobs. Let's not throw the word create around in such a loose manner. Government can only confiscate wealth and move it elsewhere. It's entrepreneurs and investments, and yes, even investments from millionaires and billionaires that actually create opportunities, creates wealth, create products and services that meets the demands of society. Here's a really simple illustration to illuminate Kulinski. Let's say there's a plot of land and I have a great idea for a business, so I get some financing and construct a building. I buy all the tools, I organize everything, pretty soon that business is up and running, and just my luck, huge segments of society are thrilled with what I'm offering, and they're willing to exchange something with me in order to receive whatever it is I'm offering. All of a sudden I say, whoa, I need help. I can't handle everything on my own here. Too many people are coming to my doorstep to satisfy their demand of what I'm offering. I can't keep up. So I put out help wanted ads and I hire people. That is the actual creation of employment. That is the creation of wealth, economic activity, and prosperity. That is what meets the demands of people. It took a vacant, useless plot of land and turned it into a net positive for everyone. And yes, it's a net positive even for those workers that you think are being exploited. Now, government, on the other hand, can do no such thing. All they can do is look at that business that was started and decide to just take their money by force and violence. Just a small detail I don't think we should forget. And then they filter it through bureaucracy and red tape and have some jobs plop out elsewhere. But the important thing to remember is that they must take those resources from actual productive capacities. There is no real actual creation going on at all. So it's completely disingenuous and erroneous of Kulinski to say Bernie Sanders has ever created a job or that his proposed jobs guarantee is the creation of jobs. It's not. It's like pouring one bucket of water into another bucket of water, having some water spill out along the way, and claiming you have more water now. It's not the way you create anything. But then people like Kulinski and Bernie Sanders will only focus in on the bucket that has more water now and say, look at what a good job we've done. Meanwhile, there's less water overall. Now, moving on to the billionaire question, this is one of those areas where it's pretty clear that it's not about caring for the poor. It's just a dislike of the rich. That is all. You see, Kulinski in this video says billionaires need to stop whining and that he and Sanders are not advocating for anything extreme and that they need to calm down. Now, I would say that the prohibition of anyone becoming a billionaire is pretty extreme, but worse than that, it's pointless and counterproductive. You can confiscate every single dollar and sell every asset of every billionaire in the US, and you'll be able to give every individual in the US about $9,000. And then you're done. That's the last time you can do that trick. So quit with this idea that there's somehow a detriment to all of us. It's so obvious, in fact, that this would not solve problems that I can come to no other conclusion other than what I said before, and that is that this is not about caring for the poor. This is only about dislike of the rich. Furthermore, what do you think would happen if Bernie Sanders got his way? Well, billionaires would be forced to divest out of untold numbers of ventures, pulling the capital for entrepreneurs. This would have a terrible shockwave effect, and if you really go down the road Bernie Sanders wants to go down and make sure no one has more than $1 billion, you would see them leave this country. They would just take their money and investments and run. And what would this do to GDP? It would have a pretty substantial effect. Now, why do I mention this? GDP, in my opinion, is pretty overrated, and it can be fabricated in many instances. Well, even still, a little-known fact is that tax revenue, as compared to GDP, almost never goes above 20%. In fact, it rarely ever even reaches 20%. It's sort of a built-in natural limit to what the government can get, and it is not correlated to whatever the marginal tax rates are either. So what this essentially means is that what Bernie Sanders wants and what Kulinski cheers him on about is pointless and counterproductive. If they are so concerned about the government not getting enough revenue, which is absolutely laughable in 2019, it's ridiculous, then what they're advocating would actually hurt that. Again, Bernie Sanders and this Kulinski guy have no idea what they're talking about at all. But that's got to be it for now. Please like, subscribe, share the video, and all that cool stuff, and please take it easy.